Yeah.
Anyway, speaking of EPL, I don't know. I know Caesar didn't give a damn about this article. I don't know if Holly did, but Javier Tebas, we look at. There's an article in the whole show notes
You
on
don't you
Instagram.
don't
Huh?
you don't got to preface like that. You're gonna set me up for failure.
Yeah, you over there give me a look. Cause Holly's trying to read it right now too. I can tell.
Well, Caesar already sunk, so let me see if I get mine in.
Uh,
You see my eyes moving
She's
like
like,
left
yeah,
and
the
right.
I'm,
screen got all bright. I'm like,
I'm not about to get
that's the
destroyed like
Guardian.
Caesar.
Yeah, that's the Guardian page right there.
Yeah, I pulled up the web page.
Um, what's the name? So Javier Tebas, the president of La Liga, right wing activist, he was talking about EPL, and he had some interesting things to say. I'm going to read kind of a lot of this, so you don't have to read it yourself. But he said that he's basically saying that the Premier League is not financially sustainable. He was speaking at a conference about how to protect European football's ecosystem. He said that Premier League clubs distort the transfer market by spending huge sums on players despite making losses. During the 22 summer transfer window, Premier League spent over $1 billion pounds for the first time ever. English clubs are responsible for 49% of the spending across the big five leagues, which is crazy. But Tebas is questioning the sustainability. He said, "What I'm worried about is the Premier League, and I've been worried for many years now. But now it's converted into a competition that is losses all year. Basically saying like, it's all the clubs lose money. There's no sustainability in the Premier League. The Premier League is not a financially sustainable model. They're financed by owners, but with enormous amounts of money that is distorting the market. They get more revenues, okay, but you lose money and you're injecting 1.5 billion every year. What does it mean? It means you're not sustainable. Um, I guess last year, 2020, 2021 financial year, only three clubs in EPL made a profit: Man City, Wolves, and Leeds, which is random. But there was a part in here where he said something interesting. Okay, he said, "We can compete with the Premier League without any problem at all. I'm not worried about the fact that the 15th position team in EPL signs a Spanish player. I'm worried about the fact that they sign them when they're making losses because we don't allow our clubs to do that." Which I was like, I don't know, because I've seen some interesting stuff going on with Barcelona this season, but whatever. Um, okay, the thing that I thought was really interesting was Tebas said the only two leagues that are sustainable economically are Bundesliga and La Liga. Um, and he said we need to fight so that financial sustainability is also applied to the Premier League. I guess he's saying that Bundesliga and La Liga have rules in place that don't allow them to like do the same things that EPL is doing. I like it was interesting for me to hear that. And I don't know, like Javier Tebas could just be biased, like maybe he's friends with the president of Bundesliga. I don't know. But it was interesting to hear that. And I think we've all been critical at least of like really good players coming from like France or Spain, whatever, and they just signed to like Aston Villa or like
Burnley.
Nottingham Forest, and it's like, damn, dude, like these teams got so much money to get really good players, and just some mid-level team can sign them and pay them like double what they were getting. But what do you guys think?
I agree. I think that we're seeing now in the era of like, especially with the collapse of things like in the crypto world and everything, with all this obscene amount of money. I think that I think that those things that's not sustainable. Like large increments of wealth doesn't mean sustainability. That just means like it's a positive time period. But there's gonna come a time period where the TV contracts aren't gonna be money aren't gonna be able to keep up, and these salaries are gonna be able to keep up. Like it's just not make sense. The reason why those others are more viable because they're much more stricter on like financial constraints that clubs can do. Like they're strict about like players having to get citizenships. Like there was a thing that posted the other day that said, "Oh, Real Madrid started their first uh lineup ever with like no Spanish players." But what people didn't fail to notice is that 10 of the players that started are have Spanish citizenship. So that's a different course of action that is not really commonly done with the Premier League. Premier League, they have to do a lot of visa work, but not a lot of citizenships. And I think that kind of stuff, it can get difficult to get players in, but along with the financial, it does lead to sustainability, right? Like the player has made like citizenship and he has like more invested to stay. It's like it's a more of a process and sustainability in the long term. But I don't. I think that what EPL is doing is like, while it's hot, but I can imagine a situation where, all it takes is one, and it becomes a domino effect, right? Like, what if something happens with like Nottingham Forest, right? They sign 11 people, and is it going to be a situation where like, they just go broke and then they fall away down, and another one steps up, or is it going to be something that happens with maybe one of these big Qatari investment groups or something in Saudi? What if one of those gets tied up in some kind of financial blockade or what happened? Who knows what happened, because you're dealing with real countries' money, like actual wealth that's not accumulated from the sport. Something like that happens, and those people, some of those investment groups own like 4 to 5 teams. That's big, and it could be a big team like a Man City. You never know, and
Yeah.
and yeah, so I don't think that's a long-term sustainable plan at all.
I like what you think.
I mean, yeah, I definitely see like some facts and truths in what he says. Um, and like I just think the fact that so many big clubs too are like bankrupt or like in debt.
Yeah.
Like, oh, in debt is what I meant. Like clubs do go bankrupt, but like a lot of them are in debt. Like for years they've been in debt, and it's just like that doesn't seem really sustainable for the teams or for the leagues. I've always admired. I don't know too much about how like La Liga runs things, but I've always admired how Bundesliga does a lot of their a lot of the business, and the fact that teams, they have that rule where some teams are owned by like half fans and half like other owners. Like it's cool. Like that seems like that is substantial for the league, and it makes sense. Whereas I think Caesar put it better than I'm explaining it, but like it just, I think the Premier League could take things from other leagues in order to help it, not in order to make it last for the teams and for everybody. So
Yeah.
there are definitely truths in that article.
Yeah, it seems like what he's saying is like it's kind of like a financial bubble, and then eventually it's going to burst.
Everybody starts making a lot of money, it stops at some point. Something happens because it's gonna take one person or one situation where it's gonna exceed the greed of what others can sustain and hold up to, and it'll pop the bubble. That's always how it works. It's not because when it comes to generating wealth, it comes out of eagerness and greed and like wanting more and more. And one person is gonna reach too far into the cookie jar and it's gonna fall. Like that's just how it works.
and
Consistent with history,
yeah, England is definitely one of the countries that's like known for being like one of the financial tricks you can get money kind of places. Um, when it comes to banking and things like that. So, I mean, I wonder, like, maybe, like, I can also imagine Javier Tebas is like, I know he's not the nicest guy with like the best politics. I could see him being like just jealous.
He's a little
Uh,
bit of a hater, I'm not gonna lie.
yeah, right. So I could see him just kind of being like that, like,
Yeah.
oh, like, yeah, they got all the money, but it's not going to last forever. But at least for like fans of the sport, it is frustrating to see good players in like France or Spain. I don't really pay attention to Bundesliga like that, and nobody's coming from Serie A anymore. But but like to go to EPL teams that are like mid to low table teams, and it's literally just because, like for example, Maxwell Cornet went from Lyon to Burnley.
Yeah.
That would like hurt my heart, dude. Like, I don't want to see him go from Lyon to Burnley, dude.
Yeah, a perennial French club with consistent Champions League experiences,
He was playing.
at Burnley now.
He played in the semifinals of the Champions League. He beat they Lyon beat Man City. He
Hmm.
was on that team that beat. beat Juve and Man City, and then he went to Burnley. Like,
Didn't they say like when they had that bad year that the only person that really was playing was him? They're like he was
yeah,
the
he
only.
like
They were
led.
like they were
Yeah,
like he was the only one in the
yeah.
club that was balling.
They still got relegated.
Yeah, he was the only one playing for real.
And
Yeah.
he like went to West Ham. Like I think he's on West Ham now. I think he's injured right now. But it's like to see something like that is rough, dude. Like you know, I mean, mostly I pay attention to Liga, obviously, and I remember them talking about like Husam going to Aston Villa, and I'm just like, really?
Well, this is my thing. It's like, well, someone says like, oh, like, what is Burnley supposed to do? But it's like this. If like, if Maxwell Cornet went to like Elche in Spain, you'd be like, what the fuck? Like, why?
Yeah,
Why
exactly.
are you at Elche? Like, that's not even like, or Valladolid. Like, what are you doing
Yeah,
there?
yeah.
Like, but like, and that's what the equivalency of Burnley is in La Liga. So it's like that's why it's strange because clubs like that they do a lot of development with like players they find through scouting or like a lot of local or talent from the country. So when you see them get like a player from a big club, you're just like, what? Like
Yeah,
that's
good player.
weird.
Like,
Yeah, really good player.
for example, like I don't have an issue with like Man U getting Anthony. Like you're
Yeah,
paying 100 something million. Like, yeah, go for it. Like you think he's going to be the next best thing?
that's kind of what you expect a menu to do is make
Yeah,
a big investment on players like that.
exactly. But like when someone like that ends up at Burnley, it's just like, damn, dude. Like it's only because Burnley is in EPL, they can like double his salary.
Yeah, but if
Um,
Nottingham Forest spent 70 million on Anthony, I'd be like, what is going on here?
exactly.
What the hell? That's wild.
Holly, as an EPL fan, like, would you want to see like, would you be mad if they changed the rules to make it like more financially sustainable and EPL start falling off a bit, ends up like Serie A?
Oh my
Whoa,
God.
whoa, whoa. It wouldn't fall
What a
off that
drop
much.
off.
Yeah. Chill,
Okay,
chill.
okay, you know what? Actually, I thought about it. Like, I remember when Arsenal got Guendouzi, they got him from a League Duh team. They got him from a second division team. Like, I'm
Yeah.
fine with that.
Mhm.
Like, you're doing scouting. There's a dude in the second division of France, but like we like him, and he's like 17 or 18. Go for it.
Yeah.
But like, and like, but even if Burnley got him, like I'm fine with that. Like, you're scouting actually. But like to be able to like pluck off good players that are veterans from big clubs across the world, that shit is annoying.
No, for sure. I do agree. Like there should be rules like implemented in the EPL because yeah, it is so weird to see when like players go to like the randomest clubs. Like that's some like FIFA, like the video game stuff, like it doesn't make sense. So I think in order for things to make sense, there needs to be rules. I don't think it would drop off like Syria though.
And to see that English clubs are responsible for half of the transfer spending, like half, that's crazy. Like,
But yeah,
hmm.
English teams are they're always the ones that they're making several moves in like January.
You
It's
know
like
what? You know what? Maybe actually, maybe they gotta get like bring in all these players because like there ain't that many English players like that come through the academies. Like the English players suck.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. First of all, if there's one group of people that gets mad about English players not getting their representation, it's the English commentators and the fans. They're like, "Oh, like Gallagher should be starting or whatever." Like they're like so mad about this a lot, and um, it's like, wouldn't you want a system that a lot of those lower clubs would give opportunities for those players to get more
Right?
consistent minutes? Like I don't care if a club guy's gonna start at Chelsea. I don't care about that. But he's not even able to go to Nottingham because they've signed like 9 Brazilians, and literally straight out of Palmeiras. Like it's just very weird. I don't
Um,
know. It's weird.
and Serge Aurier.
They do have Serge Aurier, who I saw at Santa Monica Pier.
You never sent Sahali that picture, did you?
no, I think I've seen it on the
Me
beach.
and Serge Aurier chilling on the beach. Yeah, and
Yeah.
and what's his name now? Fulham fullback, the left back. Used to be at PSG.
Who?
Kazawa.
Kurzawa too. Next to
Kurzawa,
Oh
me.
yeah.
yeah, he did go to Fulham. I forgot.
He's at Fulham chilling on the bench.
Oh, hard. I feel like he's injured probably.
He's been
Um,
injured for like 6 years.
um, yeah, it's just I would like to see more parity. It's just funny though because even with that, it's not like I mean we did see an all EPL final in Champions League. It was Chelsea and Man City.
The investment is going somewhere. I'm not saying that the investment isn't going somewhere, but is the investment is this when this is happening, are we really getting the best representation of the like spreading talent in Europe, or is talent just going to England? Like that's the problem. Like maybe a lot of these things, of course, these other clubs in other countries are having their own financial issues for their own reasons, Italy, but it does kind of suck that the other clubs like are feel like more leached, like they're just kind of like it's like, oh, are they going to end up every single, I mean, it was already with the rumor thing, like every single person's rumored to go to an English club, so it's like you don't ever hear other than like Sadio going there. You don't hear people going like, oh, like Bayern or something like that. You feel like you hear more of like, oh, someone might go to Aston Villa over them going to like some of the other clubs outside of England.
And you know what's funny too? Now that I think about it, like when I'm thinking about like the best players on the England national team, like they don't even really play for big clubs for real. Like Harry Kane plays for Tottenham, Jude Bellingham plays for BVB.
Yeah, he's
I
not
mean,
even in England.
Rashford plays for Man U, but like Man U's sadly hasn't been very good the past decade.
Sancho came from BVB.
Yeah, and he's on. What the hell happened to Sancho? Is he still on Man U? Did he get injured?
I think he's injured, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Like
Playing better without him.
Raheem Sterling was on City and he's at Chelsea now. But like, I mean, he wasn't even like a real like starter like that on the national team. You're not really seeing like the best England players playing for like the top clubs even. Are you looking up who else is on the team? Who the hell's on England?
Declan Rice, like
Yeah, he plays for West Ham.
West Ham, yeah.
Oh yeah,
Like,
Declan
what?
Rice. That's a
I
good
remember
point. Declan Rice.
At the Euros, Calvin Phillips was starting, and he played
Yeah.
for Leeds.
Trippier, he plays for Newcastle.
Yeah, like Harry Maguire's at Man U, and he's like, who else was playing? Who was the other center back for England?
Tomomori?
No, he didn't even get called
He
up.
didn't get called up.
In the national team. It was Maguire and Stones, I think, who plays for City.
Yeah.
Who was in the midfield? It was Bellingham, Declan Rice, and
Henderson?
Henderson started some matches. He's at Liverpool, but he's like older, you know what I mean? And then you got Saka, who's at Arsenal, like, which is like still kind of, Arsenal's obviously doing good this year, but like they haven't done jack. They haven't won a trophy in forever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but they're still considered one of the most popular EPL clubs.
It's a big team, like
and
because
richest.
Arsenal,
Yeah.
but like they're not a winning club for real. For real, they haven't won a trophy or anything in Europe in forever. So like that's interesting too, and I think it kind of shows something that these clubs aren't really like pushing for, like
They're not signing.
they're
They're
not
not all signing top tier English talent for sure.
like,
No,
like Jude Bellingham should not be playing at BVB. Like,
no.
if anything, he should be playing at West Ham with Declan Rice.
Even Sancho was like known as like a wonder kid in England, so it was like wild that he was.
Why is he at BVB?
Germany.
Why wouldn't he be getting playing time at an?
He's not even rumored really. He's like rumored a little bit for Liverpool, but like all the rumors people are doing like Real Madrid for Bellingham.
So yeah, like I feel like it doesn't really make sense too, because I feel like there's been like since I've been watching, there's been a couple Euros, there's been 2 World Cups, and nobody thinks England's going to win the World Cup or the Euros. Like as much as once they advance, it's coming home. Like you're going to hear that. It's coming home, but like it's no
good song though.
Yeah, like
I'd sing it in the stadium.
Yeah, like if they're playing against USA, I'm singing it.
Yeah, I'm singing It's Coming Home. Absolutely. I'm not singing We Believe Who. I'm not doing I Believe That We Will Win.
I'm doing a British accent next to Adele.
I'm beholding arms with Prince Harry. It's coming home.
But like for EPL having all this money, being like so dominant at the bank, they should have a better national team and they don't.
I still think that at the end of the day, I'm not going to go all the way full hater mode like you. They did have two teams in the final, so like in European
No,
competition.
I'm talking about the national team. I'm talking about the national team.
Okay, but it's like the club investment is doing itself favors because a few years ago, me and you were doing discussions on the show talking about how there's no EPL teams making out of the first round of eliminations in Champions League, and lately it's been a whole lot of EPL teams in that final. So clearly, the money is putting its value towards on the field, but at what cost of competition around? At what cost of European competition? And I don't know. I don't know if that's the best thing moving forward for the future. Maybe a good thing if you're an England fan or chilling in England, but if for the sport, I don't know if that's the best thing you really want.
Holly don't care as long as Man U is winning.
Facts.
Honestly, yeah.
Red Devils.
Kind of, yeah.
I don't know if y'all going to talk about it real fast because we did.